Darryl's more, the laid-back kind of fun, easygoing kind of person, doesn't really get that mad at you, but then Bruce is the one who kind of puts you in check and makes sure that all your stuff's getting done right. And
Darryl's a very friendly boss, I think, is the best way to put it.
With Darryl, who's this kind of like savant, but he's like operating on this other plane. I can't quite put my finger on it, but
hanging out with Bruce is the most dangerous thing an employee can do.
Bruce is like a Sith Lord. He's like this. He's like the Emperor's right arm or something. He's a very dark and mysterious guy who doesn't tip his cards to anyone.
I don't remember actually the first time I met D, but probably one of the many times he came into the restaurant, to see what was up and just chat with everyone. And he's, it's very easy just to walk up to him and just, start BSing. And that was always very cool.
That was the first time I met Bruce, was him yelling at me. I think maybe a couple days after that, I was on the back line with Sam, and we weren't holding up. And he came back, and now what I think is fairly typical, asked who is this guy, tell him to get out of the way because he's going too slow. So he pushed me out of the way and started making the pizzas himself.
Darryl. The first time I met him was probably back at Lakeview also, and he would just occasionally stroll in and kind of talk to everybody and hang out, have a glass of wine, and tell interesting stories.
Bruce, I was like, who's this guy in this great mood? He was so chipper. No, he wasn't. He was like miserable, and he came in, and I was like, who are you? Yeah.
You can edit this, right? The first time we saw Bruce, I remember we thought he was about the prettiest man we ever saw, and that was about it, really.
So, after we opened our second location in Lakeview, Bruce was working the store in Lakeview. I was working the store at State Street. And we were really happy. We were able to project everything that we wanted into the stores, our vibe, our image, our personalities. We loved the feel. And it just, we had an opportunity to open a third store, and it just seemed natural to progress and keep moving forward. So we decided, we opened a third store and started to realize we were stretching ourselves a little thin, but we didn't think it was a problem until we started, as we're going in and out of the third store, it had the menu, it had the look, the design, the decor, everything was there. But we didn't feel good about it. We didn't feel right. We walked in the store, it could have been Big Al's Pizza. Anybody could have been serving pizza there. It was working, but there was something really missing.
Yeah, we weren't able to be there for that store like we were for 1 and 2. We were already getting kind of stretched too thin with different things. And any time I would walk in there, I could just tell it wasn't us. We were used to seeing people really working hard and having fun. And we knew at that point that we really didn't want to just open more and more stores, and not if they were going to be like that. We knew at that point that if we wanted to continue to grow, we had to get more people in the stores who understood Darryl and I's kind of values and personality so that we could leave and some of that would stay behind.
So I guess kind of what it really boils down to, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 stores or whatever it is, if we just felt like, how do you get a day off? How do you really take time off and be off and not call constantly on the cell phone, check in, make sure everybody's there, worry about the store, call in constantly, drive around the block 10 times on your day off with your kids in the car. They think you're lost. Yeah, I'm telling you, my kids get tired of going by the store because they don't want to eat any more pizza because we passed it already. And it's ridiculous, but that's what we felt like was important. It's like, how do you leave your personality or leave it running when you're not there? So I guess along the way as we grew, these are some of the points or issues that helped us grow into that direction.
It started really immediately for me when I went to Lakeview, and it wasn't Darryl and I working together. It was me working some and then other people taking over the store after me when I would go home. And like you guys probably have seen this, it operates two totally different ways. It's one way when you're standing there, you're in everyone's space, and it's something totally different when you leave. So it was frustrating for me, and it was frustrating also for all the good employees that I had and people that knew what we were trying to do. So we did what, is fairly typical probably. You have the big restaurant meeting. We get everyone in there and you start going over all the big issues, people coming to work on time and all that kind of stuff. And at the end, I felt pretty good, get myself pumped up for that kind of stuff. And I thought it was really going to make a difference. But I wasn't ready to throw away my notes. I was like, I'll hang on to these because we're going to be having this meeting again, someday. And right when I realized that I was doing that, I was kind of disgusted with it. And, I want people to start out, or I wanted them to start out with some basic understanding of what we were trying to do.
So we felt like our goal was to create an environment where our expectations were understood without having to dictate them day in and day out and repeating ourselves over and over. We didn't want people to be in fear of a pink slip or being fired constantly. And we didn't want to become overly kind of a corporate environment. We just wanted to form an underlying structure that would guide us without taking away the personalities of who we are and what Reginelli's was about. So the Lakeview meeting that Bruce is talking about, sort of after that we kind of came up with it's really simple. It should be basic, but I guess a code of conduct around 3 basic ideas: working hard, being courteous, and taking responsibility for your actions.
The first one, working hard, it's this idea, it's novel, I guess. When you come and clock in, you're supposed to actually find something to do. People amaze me. They show up with backpacks or crossword puzzles, their collection of action figures, whatever they wanted to bring for the day. And, you get floored by that kind of thing. We were constantly harping on the idea, look, you're here, everybody else in here is working, you need to be working too.
So secondly, expecting people to be courteous sounds simple, but we all know there's boundaries being crossed constantly today, over and over. I mean, when I go into my store or any other store or a service industry, you walk in and there's 4 or 5 people standing around and nobody gives you a genuine hello, a real, sincere, may I help you kind of an attitude. You can get a feel for people, whether they want to help or they're being told they have to help. If nobody looks at it, it just says it's unacceptable. We don't find it acceptable. Servers in the dining room, I'm sure it's another frustrating thing with new technology. You've got people texting, voicemail, cell phones. I don't accept that. I can't understand people in a dining room when the customer's out there on a cell phone. It's just, we've all seen it. It's horrible. But we just have to really remember the basics, which is the reason we are there because of our customers. We have to respect them. We have to be courteous and give them our full attention.
And the last thing is not making excuses. If you make a mistake, if you forget to put somebody's order in, I want to hear you say that I wasn't paying attention and I made a mistake. This litany of excuses that you guys have all heard, everything you can think of. My favorite, which is to figure out some way of blaming the customer. I don't really get it. And, that's not what we're about. You see from the next set of comments from the employees, we're not about making excuses. We're about getting the job done.